Today we are going to talk about the college essay, at least doing a introduction to it because this is a pretty broad topic that may take us 3 or 4 sessions to fully cover and help really explain. But let's start with some basics today. First of all, what is the college essay and why is it important? Well, it is generally considered a 500 to 650 word essay. I say 650 because that is the upper end limit that is applied by the Common Application, which is the format that most students use to apply to colleges at this in this day and age, at least. So we call this long essay, so to speak, the primary essay, the main essay. And it is the one that is written one time and then shared with multiple schools throughout the application process, which is great. So students don't have to write this lengthy essay, generalized narrative about themselves more than once. They may have to answer other supplemental questions, and I will explain those in a completely separate session to delve into the importance and significance of those and what differentiates them from this main essay. But the main essay is, well, really all essays, but the main essay is a key part of the application process. It is really an opportunity for students to showcase something about themselves that is not readily apparent from other parts of the application. So it may reveal parts of their personality, their belief system, their social compass, their moral compass, their values, and other qualities and attributes that are just more hidden, that are not going to be coming out just necessarily when you read somebody's transcript or when you read somebody's even activities list. This is really an opportunity to delve into another aspect of who they are. And quite honestly, it is a difficult process for many of the students to undertake, having to sort of dig in and reveal some level of themselves to others is not always a natural process. It's not always a comfortable process. And again, at times it can be a real challenge just to kind of get them to open up, even in this format of writing that can be difficult. And just writing in general can be difficult for some of them. The essay is also really important because it is something that can differentiate students in this process. So think of it this way: if two applicants look very similar academically, maybe even similar GPAs, similar course work throughout high school, similar test scores, maybe they have some different activities on their list and things like that. But the essay really is an opportunity for the student to say something about themselves that sets them apart from the rest of the group. Now, every time I say that to a family, especially to a student, their eyes get really big and they think, I don't have anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about. How am I ever going to be that much different? Because let's think about this. Most teenagers spend most of their time trying to be as similar to one another as they possibly can because that's their comfort zone. So when you ask them to think about ways that they are different, it can be a really uncomfortable conversation. And it's not meant to be. It's really actually meant to be more fun and self-reflective, but they're not accustomed to having to think this way. So we spend a lot of time with our students walking them through that brainstorming process and that sort of mining themselves for the details of what makes them tick so that they can share that with the college admissions office. A great essay, another reason it's important is because one that is great and well done can make a lasting impression on the admissions office. So can a poorly done one, or a plagiarized one, or one that is written by AI. So you want to err on the side of greatness as much as you can without, going down the path of other mistakes that can often derail the process for a student. And we really, again, work with them very clearly on that in terms of how they tell their story in an honest and ethical way throughout this process, because the lines are becoming more and more blurred, especially when it comes to AI. in this process. So again, types of essays, we'll not talk about supplemental essays today, but again, the main essay, written once, usually 500 to 650 words long. Sometimes that is referred to as the personal statement on certain applications. If you're not looking at the Common App, you may read that at some point and kind of wonder, what does that mean? But that's the personal statement is a very similar it's very similar to the main essay. It essentially is the main essay and can be used in multiple applications like that. So how do we even begin? Well, typically we begin with brainstorming. And again, with my group, we do multiple sessions with our students, brainstorming, trying to really uncover something that is unique about who they are so that when they tell their story, it gives this new perspective on them in the application process. But a note about choosing the right topic, because students and parents, I have to say, this is a big parent issue as well. It's easy to think that some topics are not going to be this, are not going to come with the wow factor, so to speak, that they are not going to really impress the college admissions office. Let me tell you this, after having read thousands of essays over the years, the topic is really the least important piece of this. You could write about why mustard is yellow, and still, as long as you, the student, have revealed something unique about yourself or why you even had that curiosity in the first place and what lesson it taught you in life, it's a great essay. And again, as parents, we tend to get tense about this and think, oh, there's so much more you could write about. And that is really not the point in this process. The whole idea about choosing the right topic is about, you've got to be personal and authentic. What is something that truly matters to the student? What is truly an aspect of who they are that is important to them that we want to share with the college admissions office? I often ask students, or my whole team asks students this question when we're brainstorming. Finish this sentence. If you truly knew me, you would know that. And that answer could be any number of things. But then what is a fun way to tell that story to illustrate that in the process? So think of it that way. Don't fixate so much on, oh, but you've done so much volunteer work, we should absolutely talk about this in your essay. Again, you may really be intrigued by the color of mustard, and that could be a much more interesting story to read than the volunteer work. That's already going to be outlined elsewhere on your application anyway. The other thing is, when you're picking a topic, you have to focus on something specific, a moment in time. It is a snapshot. It is not your life story. It is what is one thing, one quality, one story I'm trying to convey, and I have to do that very concisely. I cannot write this long-winded novella about what has happened to me that got me to this point. Think of it simply as, what happened? That's the story. And then how did it change you? What's new and different about who you are? What have you learned? How have you grown? So again, so many different ways that we can get to that specific ending that we're looking for. So again, learning, growth, development, realizations that didn't exist before something happened. Those are all really well thought out or well designed ideas or plans in this process when you're thinking about what to write about. So again, do not focus so much on what it's specifically about, but more so, what is the reader learning about you when it is done? And that really is the key piece of all of this. So last few things, just in the generalities that I'll talk about today. Just remember that when you are writing a great essay, it is one that makes an impact. A good essay tells a story. A great one really makes an impact. The thoughtfulness of your storytelling will convey depth, will convey, again, uncovering growth and realizations that weren't necessarily there prior to the story. It will reveal something unique about you, the student, and you really have an opportunity to share something new and compelling in this sort of last ditch bit of the application that is truly in the student control at this time. So think of it that way. I know a lot of that information can feel overwhelming. In the next few segments, when we talk about essays, I'll dive deeper into the specifics of brainstorming, some things to avoid in the process, and then we'll dig into supplemental essays down the road as well. Remember, you don't have to write your essay alone. We are here to provide support, both in our comprehensive packages and in our essay only package. There are lots of ways that we can help guide you through this process and hopefully make it a lot less stressful. Reach out to us if you'd like more information.